Good evening, board members. Welcome to our afternoon session. I'm your superintendent, Barbara Peterson, but today, just after I make this introduction, I'm going to be just a member of a four-part team. As you know from our agenda, the agenda item for today is molding a millennial mindset for math. And in truth, if I was to add one more alliteration, it's really molding a millennial mindset for middle school math. That's what we're here to talk about today. So this piece of information we're bringing to you today is so critical that I am participating with staff in this process because I am modeling that we need to be a learning organization. Our middle school math is central to everything we do in our system. And if we're going to make changes that are going to address some of the things we'll speak to you about, common challenges that are coming to us, addressing issues we currently have, we have to have business as unusual. We have to find a way for all of us to learn how to move into this new environment, able to help our students. So this conversation today is going to be primarily to do with an adult learning plan and how it is we address middle school math in that way. But before we get started, because often we end up talking with adults, to adults, about adults, I want you to just take a little attention to one of the students that we'll be thinking about. Focus on this student. Now it could be any number of our students. We're just going to focus today on Juan Alvarado. It's not even his real name. But what I want you to do is think about a middle school student. Fix him in your mind. So Juan Alvarado has come to us in 6th grade. He's currently an 8th grader. He's kind of looking next year at math. He's an upperclassman now. He's looking forward to going to high school, wondering what high school's about. Now, he is a good kid. He's been with us for only 2 years, but the kids that come to us often, great mobility. Once they're with us, they're our students, and we want to help them. Now, he came to us with some low scores in math, and that's okay, because he's with us, and that's what we're intending to do. So as he's looking forward to 8th grade, one of the other things that has really gotten Juan excited this year is that for the first year, he's going to be able to play soccer. Now, soccer is motivating to Juan. And we, as you know, have a policy that we only have league sports in soccer in the 8th grade. Now, here's the problem. Because Juan has low math scores, he is not able to play soccer this year. He has an F in math, and that means that he can't suit up. Now, that's a problem, because one of the things that was motivating Juan to come for these last 3 years was waiting for this opportunity. And now he's not able to play, and he's getting a little discouraged. Here's the other big problem. Juan is a pleaser. He would please the teachers, he would please his coach. He does not want to be failing math. He doesn't know how to do the math. Here's the other sad concern. His teachers don't know how to teach him math. Now the problem for us is that Juan is getting discouraged. And while we might say we're going to work on this problem and we're going to fix this issue, right now Juan is getting discouraged and he's not coming to school as much anymore. That means his grades are getting more depressed. And if we aren't careful, Juan is going to be a dropout statistic. Now, we don't want that. We want Juan to stay with us. We want Juan to be successful. And today, that's what we're going to be talking about. How it is that we address our middle school math program so the students and all the other students who we might have talked about, including Juan, are going to be successful in math. So let me introduce the rest of my team who are going to take this over. I'm just going to become one with them. So on my left is Nancy Potter. To my right is Greta Bornemann. And to my immediate right is Cheryl Leiden. And I'm going to take apart this team, and Nancy, take it away.
Good evening. I'm very, very thankful to be here this evening in Federal Way, where all means all, and the idea that this district is dedicated to all the Juan Alvarados. And what we're hoping to do this evening is to share with you a success plan so that all Federal Way students will be able to play soccer if that is what is their goal. We're here because we believe in our students, and we are trying to set a mindset that is going to help all students be successful. Our belief in our students is strong, and it behooves us to review why we would like to create proposal that we're going to be sharing with you this evening. We're going to be looking at why we can, why we believe that we are going to be able to create an environment where all students can achieve at high levels in math. So in order to do that, we need to first focus on and take a look at where we've been. So I'd like to share with you a video which is reviewing the framework and the legacy that our district has. While you're watching it, please pay attention to our culture in Federal Way and how we're going to be able to implement that culture moving forward.
We have a responsibility to provide every student an equitable and rigorous education. And if we don't move kids into the most challenging classes, we don't really have the ability to look at ourselves in the mirror or our community and say we're doing our jobs. I'm a high school principal, I've been a teacher, I've been a coach, but most importantly, I'm an educator. The missing students that traditionally are not part of these programs suffer from poverty, kids of color, the kids that don't speak English as their first language. Those are our most vulnerable populations. In order to close the race and income gaps, it takes a lot of courage. Courage to, one, have an honest conversation about what are the social, emotional, and economic consequences by not doing so. Another is having the courage to say that this is the right thing to do, and does all really mean all when we talk about kids, or does it mean this left view? Federal Public Schools has had a tradition of being a very progressive district for years. EOS helped us from good to great, and our ability to challenge kids and put them in the most rigorous courses. EOS helped us look at the data. We can have an honest conversation of which kids we're serving in these programs and which ones we're not. They help us build an infrastructure of support for teaching staff. What are the instructional materials, support systems needed, making sure you have a professional development plan that supports teachers, making sure that there's the resources so that kids can access the text. Students that I've seen that have been impacted by this goes to a level of confidence that I've never seen before. A confidence that they are in the class, confidence that they've been successful in the class, and then confidence that they can pass that highly rigorous test. And when you see that confidence, you then see a shift from kids' belief where society's told them impossible. It's impossible for you to go to college. And they start to say, I'm possible. I can do this.
Inspiring, isn't it? And I think that you can see from watching the video the rich legacy that we have and what we have to live up to and to follow. So what we know is that our district has done really strong things for kids. And what is it that makes our district very distinctive? First of all, we were allowed to, Dr. Michael Fullen actually asked us to participate in his global, with his global awareness campaign in terms of one of 1,000 districts that were being asked to participate in order to create global citizens. And what we are working for with Dr. Fullen is how to be able to make sure that all kids graduate ready to face a global economy and a global world. You probably were aware of last Tuesday that J. Matthews Challenge Index was released. And I was thrilled to see that Federal Way was one of only 2 districts in our state to have every single one of their high schools listed on the on J. Matthews' list. His list, of course, is focused on making sure that all students graduate having had the chance to participate in a rigorous course. The U.S. News and World Report list as well has indicated that our schools are doing a good job for kids. What we are looking for in the U.S. News and World Report is they actually factor in other factors as well. They look at state testing. They also are paying attention to things like free and reduced lunch. But the, and educational think tanks, such as EdTrust, such as the Equal Opportunity Schools organization, has focused on Federal Way and has had the opportunity to talk about our district in terms of our academic acceleration plan, which the state has actually copied, where all students are enrolled in rigorous courses based on their ability. And they have the option to take that course. And what we found, of course, is that those students are capable if they are held to a high level, if they are taught at this high level, and students have to opt out rather than having to opt in to a rigorous course. And in fact, our early adoption, we were one of the first 3 districts in the country to actually embrace the College Board's pathway, which is Ready Step, PSAT, and the SAT during the school day. And our work in providing these college and career awareness assessments for all students was emulated by the Roadmap District and Race to the Top, a consortium, as you know, of 7 districts in our area. So what we know about our district is that we are doing really good things for kids, but we are a very diverse district. Our free and reduced lunch rate is 57% of our students are getting help in terms of having their nutrition needs being provided for them. And we know that those numbers are actually much higher because a lot of students are hesitant to take that sort of help. And so you can see that over the past 3 years that the number of students who are eligible are increasing. And in fact, the entire Roadmap project is one that has a high degree of students that of need, as well as a highly diverse population. We're a majority district. We have a wide diversity of students that we are educating. 12.5% of our students are Asian, 4.1% are Native Hawaiians, 16.6% are Pacific Islanders, 11.4% are African American, 24% are Hispanic, and 11.5% are biracial, 35% are white. So we have a lot of ethnicities that are being represented here. We have 13.9% of our students are transitional bilingual, and our graduation rate is about 70%. Now, how are we doing in math? Because we have introduced this as focusing in on math because that is one of the key indicators in terms of helping students be prepared for life. These are the state results for the past 4 years. So you can see, if you look at the graph, you can notice that it really only goes to 60%. So if we put it all the way up to 100, you could see that our students, half of them, are not performing at the state minimum levels. And so you can see this is the blue is the 6th grade, the red is 7th, and then the yellowish, greenish is the 8th grade. So you can see that all across the board, our students are not adding up to being able to be successful in math. So what are our goals? One of our end goals is that students will see math as relevant and will have the opportunity to achieve in math. I think the two are connected. And especially, we have especially challenging goals in terms of underrepresented populations because we want to make sure that 100% of all our African American, our Hispanic, and our Pacific Islanders are going to be able to see math as relevant. How are they doing right now? These are 2 different measures. The measure on the left is an 8th grade assessment. It's called Ready Step, and this is looking at our students' math skills. You can see that for each one of these different areas, numbers and operations, algebra and functions, geometry and measurement, data and statistics and probability, the performance of our students, which is the bar, and as compared to the performance of students in the state and the nation, which are the triangles. You can see that in all of these areas, our students are performing below where we would expect them to be. And we can also see over here on our state test, this is the end of course, math year 1, we can see that our students are not performing in terms of their algebra skills that we would expect. So what are our choices? What are the directions we can take? How can we get onto this path of being the math millennium mindset for our district? What did we do in order to focus and to figure out where we should go? Well, what we did is we looked at the school improvement plans. And when we looked at the school improvement plans, we found that they were all very, very different. Some were one page, some were multi-page PowerPoints. But all of them addressed the importance and the need for looking at math and for focusing on math at the middle school level. What else did these plans already have in place? What are the resources that we could be using to broker and to be able to meet our goal of making sure that all kids are successful in math, as well as, what plan can we use? Well, what we found is that there were common formative assessments. There was the assessment that I'd already talked about, the Ready Step, as well as the state assessment that is available. All of these plans also looked at using professional learning communities. They all had professional learning communities in place. They were meeting, and so they have that infrastructure of having adults, having teachers get together and look at how they can improve instruction. And they all had a common use of coaches. Each one of our buildings has a TOSA who is on staff and is prepared and trained to be able to help implement our plan. So what we are looking at right now is, now that we've looked at where we are and where we've been, it's time to look at where we're going. So, Superintendent, please.
Thank you very much, Nancy. I'm coming back to my role as just one member of this group. So we have a sense of urgency in addressing this issue now, and that has to do with the Common Core. Now, we have talked about the Common Core, and this won't be the first time we've discussed it. But one of the challenges is that we have now adopted Common Core, and it's coming. But what the concern we have is that, remember that the Common Core has academic standards. It's not a standardized curriculum. The standard has been adopted across many of the states, and it is newly defining for us college and career readiness. So our job no longer is just to make sure the students graduate high school. Our job is to now make sure they're college and career ready. We know that when the smarter balance comes and we are assessed using that new assessment, that it is going to be challenging. We are all concerned about that. We are already underperforming the state. The smarter balance is only going to be more challenging. So we need to get on it in a very proactive way, because it's impossible for us to, we want to be as proactive to lose as little ground as we possibly can. So our theory of action. Now, our theory of action begins with a vision of high quality mathematics, learning and teaching. We then develop the structures that are necessary to support professional learning. We focus on learning at all levels on a cycle of collaboration based on data. And then we use lesson, unit, and task studies and a lab classroom so that we can see how this would really look in the classroom. So again, here's our 4 pillars, our 4 components. We're going to start first with vision, move to structure, the things that are going to be in place to help us implement this. We're going to be talking about a cycle of collaboration based on data, and always, bottom line, this has to impact the classroom level, starting first with vision. We need to first think about, what does high quality teaching and learning look like? First of all, we have several visions we have to incorporate. We can't ignore the fact that we've got a district vision, we have a district strategic plan, Common Core state standards are coming. We are already adopted our instructional framework, CEL 5D+, and we have TPAP. Those things are in place, and whatever we do cannot confound or confuse us with these things that we've also adopted. In order to make this happen, we have to, as I've been trying to demonstrate and model, we have to develop a learning mindset in order to get engaged students, engaged teachers. Teachers must be teaching a rigorous core instruction. There has to be ongoing system-wide engagement, and all of our information needs to be, and our decisions need to be driven by data. So, how is it that we're going to build this vision? First of all, one of the challenges, as we spoke to you before, we looked at the strategic plans of all of the 4 districts, that 4 buildings we looked at. We found that there was no common way of demonstrating the plans that the buildings were operating with. That made it difficult for central office to know exactly what kind of PD folks needed, where their issues were, what their focus was. So what we need to do is build a common vision. The way we go about doing that to begin with is that we'll have a leadership team that engages in a discussion of middle school math. We'll involve people from each of the buildings. We'll involve principals and teachers so that we have an understanding about what we should do system-wide to develop our vision. Then it will have a common framework that when we have this at a system level, we will devolve that design template because the buildings then need to take on that process. So each middle school building, understanding what we've adopted as what looks like excellent instruction and learning in math, is going to then incorporate that vision template to let the buildings design their own vision based on their own demographics, their own data, their own operational imperatives. And then we, from that, can start to implement the structures that will help us put this in place. Greta?
Thank you. Having a common vision of high quality mathematics instruction is clearly not enough. This, in order to improve math teaching and learning for all of our middle school students, that will require us to have learning structures in place where we can come together and use our common vision of mathematics instruction and build tools and resources that we can use together. And these structures essentially will live at 4 different levels and will be built on the structures that we already have in existence with our common school improvement plans. And those are professional learning communities, the use of coaches, and the importance of formative assessments. Essentially, these are going to be learning teams that start with principals. Actually, I will start with district office. This starts with district office. This leadership team will be built from teacher leaders, coaches, principals, and district office staff that will come together and learn together. Then we also have learning team built from our principals, who will be facilitated by district office and coaches. We also have our coaches who will be learners as well. They will be supporting the learner, but they will be learning themselves. And they will have ongoing learning that happens. And our teacher leaders will come together, and our teachers will come together and think about what does it mean to support high quality mathematics based on our vision. These structures are informed by the data that we have gathered about what are the needs, and we understand that a differentiated approach will have to take place in order to support the learning. So while these groups will come together frequently, monthly, or even more frequently than that, we know that we're going to have to provide ongoing support differentiated by individuals' needs. Each one of these structures, each one of these teams will engage in a cycle of collaboration that will help facilitate the learning. At the district level, that means that they will be the vetters, the creators of tools and resources that will be jointly owned around our shared practice of high quality teaching and learning of mathematics. They will come together and learn together about what it means to support adult learners and use data for ongoing course correction. So essentially the goal for all of them is to go through this cycle which sets goals, plans, act, assess, and reflect and adjust. Principals will also meet monthly with the support of district and coach facilitation. They will own these tools and understand what does it mean to give feedback to teachers around these tools for high quality mathematics. They will have opportunities to have individual coaching with coaches, and they will understand the tools and the resources that they will be using with teachers, that teachers will be using in the classroom. Some of those tools are things like an observation guide. They may refine that, it will be their starting point. As Barb mentioned, we have to come to this common vision that's called for in the Common Core, that is based in research. So we have many of the look-fors, but to flesh that out and own that as a group, we will all have to do that collectively. We have some starting points for that with the observation guide. We have progression documents that give the narrative story of what it means to reach career and college readiness through particular domains. What does that content look like, and how does a student move through it? We also have exemplar tasks that can be used for common formative assessments, so that we know in the classroom what kids are struggling with, and are they making progress. I'm going to turn this now to Cheryl, who's going to talk about what this means for practice in instruction.
Thank you, Greta. Good evening. I have the opportunity to share with you how this all plays out in the school, the structures and the vision in particular. And I'm going to start with the vision and the fact that in the school we need to build a common shared vision, as Barb mentioned, and she also mentioned that we have starting points already. We have the Common Core coming our way, and also the TPEP framework. So in the buildings, we will be building a shared vision, but we need some support, and the support comes from the structures that Greta mentioned. The leadership teams, both the principal leadership team and the district leadership team, are creating, vetting tools that are going to be made available to us at the building level. And these tools may be, start with some text around a vision for mathematics that's been vetted by these leadership teams, that we can then use at the school building and use to learn and build our own common vision. Or maybe it's a video, starting with a video around high quality mathematics that is called for in Common Core. These tools come to us, we make sense of them in some structures that I'll tell you about at the building level. We will also do cycles of collaboration at the building level. Barbara mentioned to you that the cycle of collaboration at the building is built around lessons, units, and tasks. And in our cycles of collaboration, we will use progression documents, as Greta mentioned, to really deeply understand the mathematics, adding to that vision of high quality mathematics that we are trying to develop. We will choose a lesson collaboratively from a unit that we're all going to be teaching in the near future, and then identify a task that we all agree to give. Finally, identify a task we all agree to give. We'll observe a lesson in a lab classroom and then teach that lesson and bring the work back to our collaborative work. I want to tell you about that lab classroom. That lab classroom is key to this work. We, for years, have been bringing student work to professional learning communities and analyzing student work to analyze our practice. But really, to analyze our practice, we have to see practice. And so we really think this lab classroom is a key part of our plan, where we will reflect on our own personal practice. We will do that through the TPEP framework that we've adopted as a district, possibly identifying something that we want to work on individually. I want to work on, you might want to work on something different, and bring those to this lab classroom experience, choosing some piece of instruction that I want to work on. We'll come back to that lab classroom and we'll observe some expertise. We have our coaches now and our teacher leaders that will teach this common lesson. And we'll get to observe someone who may be a little more practiced than we are at the mathematics instruction. Get to observe for strategies that might work in our own practice. We'll then go back to our own classrooms. We'll teach that mathematics lesson, attempting this change in practice, and then coming back to that cycle of collaboration and bringing back both our practice experience and our task, our student task. So always with the student in mind, we will look at that common task together. We'll have some shared understanding of what the task tells us, what the student work tells us, but we'll also have shared conversations about how my practice changed or did not change, or how my practice supported the student learning. So if this occurs over time in our district, and if we can put this plan in place with your support, we would hope to see some of the things that Barb mentioned. We would hope to see a change in mindset, that mindset, that belief that of the teachers that all students can learn the mathematics, that belief of the students that they can learn the mathematics. We know that we will see over time greater use of formative assessments. We know because it's in all the district improvement, all the building improvement plans, and we know that this is a key part of improving instruction. We would know that we will see over time increased engagement in the mathematics classrooms. We know that we'll see increased discourse in the mathematics classrooms because these are called for in the Common Core. And we know that we'll see students persevering in the math, really digging in and learning the math, and teachers stepping back and letting students do that because they will learn that skill from each other through this lab classroom experience and the structures that we've put in place to support what's going on in this school. So I'm going to turn it back to Barb, who's going to give you one last bit of information and again ask for your support.
Thanks very much. So we've only had a short 30-minute time to talk with you. It's my job to tell you that there is a budget impact for this. We expect that the entire price tag for the things we've discussed with you today is going to be about $250,000. We'll start in 2014 with your permission. We will continue to talk, we'll continue to learn, we'll continue to evolve. And the bottom line for all of us is that at the end of this process, we want Juan Alvarado and all of the other middle school kids who are struggling now to be able to say, I know my math. We want all their teachers to be pretty clear and pretty able to defend the statement, I can teach the math. And with this help and all of the efforts we have together, we think we're going to be able to make that. This is not the last time we'll talk with you about this issue, but we thank you for your attention.